I've told you all before, he pays all my bills, so I've had to learn how to make all his favourite meals from scratch. So today he wanted the Caribbean Sunday roast. So he had mac and cheese, plantain, rice and peas, jerk chicken wings, Yorkshire puddings, steamed veg and oxtail. So I started seasoning the night before. I washed the oxtail and seasoned it with some oxtail seasoning, some all-purpose, some ground pimento, some paprika, some garlic and onion granules, some ground ginger, a little bit of liquid seasoning and a drop of gravy browning. So I gave that a good mix and then I added in all my fresh veg as well. So for the veg I added in some white onions, some mixed peppers, some spring onions and chopped garlic. I added in some fresh thyme and some homemade green seasoning and I gave that a good mix together. I covered it up and I let that season overnight. So I also started all my prep for the other bits the day before to save some time as well. So I chopped up some cabbage, some red, orange and yellow peppers, some carrots, some onions and some garlic for the steamed veg. I soaked some kidney beans in water overnight with spring onions and garlic for the rice and peas. And then for the jerk wings, I seasoned up some wings with paprika, garlic and onion granules, all-purpose, liquid seasoning, and a tablespoon of honey jerk marinade, and then I left that overnight. So the next day, I heated up a pan with some oil. I cooked my oxtail until it was brown on both sides. Then I covered it up and let it cook in its own juices for about 15 minutes.
Wow!
Then I poured boiling water over to cover the meat. I added some Worcestershire sauce and I added some beef stock to that. I covered it up and I let that cook for around an hour and a half, checking on it constantly. So after an hour and a half, I added in all my veg from the night before. I added in 2 bay leaves, a scotch bonnet, around 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, a squirt of tomato ketchup, a little bit more Worcestershire sauce. So again, I covered it in water, left it for another hour and a half to cook. Then I got started on my roast potatoes, so I parboiled some potatoes, give them a good mix. Then I added in an OXO cube, put them into a pan of boiling hot oil, covered them in the oil. Then they went into the oven at 180 degrees for an hour, along with my jerk wings. I flipped both of those halfway through after around half an hour. Then I got started on my mac and cheese. The full recipe for this is already on my page. So I made sure the pasta was nice and coated in that sauce. Then my oxtail was nearly done. So when it was about half hour away from being done, I added in the butter beans, gave that a good mix and put the lid on.
This valid!
The next
She valid!
I started my rice and peas then. So I boiled my kidney beans. I added in around half a tin of coconut milk. I added some spring onions, garlic, some salt and some ground pimento. Gave that a good mix and then I added in some washed rice. So I added enough in so that there was around an inch between the water and the rice. This is how it came out after around 15 minutes of cooking. Then everything was coming together. My oxtail was done. This is how it was looking. So I cooked this for around 3.5 hours and it was completely falling off the bone by the time it was done.
Wow!
So we got everything plated up. This was the biggest plate of food I've ever had in my life.
I will take one of them plate there!
Like I said, we had mac and cheese, plantain.